Alright you guys, so today I'm going to show you how to dock a twin screw boat alongside a pier when the wind is pushing you off the pier. This being the pier that you want to tie up to alongside, something along like this, and the wind is pushing you down like this. So, direction of our wind is this way. So, and it could vary. It could be coming from this angle or this angle, but this should give you pretty much a general guideline of things to do. And I'm also going to try to give you some guide with the throttles here, just to kind of show you what I would be doing. So, first and foremost, this is the most difficult docking procedure you can really do with any boat, especially in a single screw, but today we're going to mainly cover a twin screw. It is a little easier, and it can be a little intimidating for some, especially if it's your first time doing it or you're really not experienced, and suppose you may be purchasing a new boat and you're intimidated by two sets of throttles. First and foremost, the best thing I can say, the first practice you should do is, with the boat not running, I like to get a feel for throttles. I like to know where in gear is, neutral, forward gear, and typically throttles have a nice click. If you're buying an old boat with cable throttles and you don't feel that click, if it's kind of tough to push all the way forward, then more than likely you need some lubrication or you need to change your cables out. But most new boats are fly-by-wire, and this is also kind of more along the lines talking in straight shafted boats. It does apply to outboards a little bit, but you can get a little bit more creative with outboard motors. But you can use these techniques with most twin engine outboard setups. However, it may not be as reactive due to the outboards being really close together, but you can make it work. So here's your boat, and here's your pier, and your goal is to tie alongside like this. So whenever the wind is blowing you off the dock, me personally, I'm a firm believer that you should always have a bow approach. So in a perfect world, you would never have wind, but unfortunately, it seems like the wind's really never to your advantage. It can be. You can learn to use it as your advantage, but for your average recreational boater, it seems like the wind is always working against them. So let's go ahead and break this down the best I can here. Sorry, but so let's suppose that we're making a completely perpendicular approach. So as I'm approaching the pier, I want to be going at bare steerage way. I want to be going as slow as I can possibly go while still maintaining control of the boat. That's bare steerage way, as slow as possible while still being able to maintain control or steerage. So as I'm approaching the dock, just picture this boat creeping forward slowly. Most boats you can have bare steerage way at 2.5 to 3 knots, but I tend to like to bump one side in gear, give it a second after I pull it out of gear, then bump the other side to counter. One side in gear, neutral, and the other side. That way, instead of operating on one side, for instance, if I had my port engine in gear, just that one, unless I was applying a lot of rudder, it would tend to just move towards starboard. But by using each engine, you sort of get like a constant counter. Now, what I'm doing with my little boat here is a little exaggerative of exactly what you're doing, but for the most part, it will maintain a straight course, and you'll be going as slow as you possibly can. Much slower than you would be going if you had both in gear and you were approaching and you were expecting to come up to the dock like this and then go neutral and then bring it to an abrupt halt. Momentum is your friend. Sometimes you don't have to use momentum, but in this case, momentum is definitely your friend because you're going to want some momentum to carry you to the dock. More than likely, if you're watching this video, you've probably ran into this scenario in a twin screw boat. You approach the dock and you twist, but once you get parallel to the dock, you're too far away. Nobody can reach the pilings or the cleats alongside the dock. And now the wind just blows you down. So that's gonna happen. As long as you don't let it get too far away and you have a line handler or you're quick to react, most of the time you should always have a line handler, somebody on the stern ready to help tie you up. But suppose you do end up too far away. You can twist your stern in and get a line on one piling, and you can pull forward and spring in by leaving one engine in forward. Typically it would be the outboard motor, and by outboard I mean the one farthest away from the dock. But the boat would actually spring in. So if I dropped a line on this piling with the stern, even if I'm at a pretty harsh angle like this, once you start to pull forward with that other outboard or the outside engine, you are going to end up stretching, and you may do something along the lines of this, but eventually it will pull towards the pier. But that's not our goal here. Our goal is to not have to use a spring line. So what you're going to want to do is get comfortable with your boat, first of all. Never hurts to practice away from things you don't want to hit. And you also never want to approach the pier at a speed that you're not willing to hit it. Slow is your friend. Always go slow. So, in my experience, it's been the best for you to keep your bow as close to the pier as possible. And it can be very scary. You may feel like you're basically right on top of it. It really helps if you have a bow pulpit, in my opinion. Basically a piece like with an anchor chute that goes off into your bow. Some of your boats may have them, some of them not. But anything that you can keep your eye on above the bow, railing, anything like that really helps in my opinion. But you're slowly approaching the dock like this, or bumping both, pulling them out, bumping both, pulling them out. You're slowly approaching the dock. And once you start to get close, you want to typically turn the bow a little bit to the direction that you want to approach the dock at, and in order to end up on the side that you want to be on, whether it be port or starboard. And you can do this with your steering wheel, or you can do it with your throttles. Depending on the amount of momentum that you have will determine the ease of it with your throttles. You can practice around, but I personally think it's easiest to always keep your wheel straight in this type of scenario. So, you're approaching the dock. You have some forward momentum. For instance, you go ahead and put that starboard side in forward. You give it a bump because we're going to attempt to dock on our starboard side in this case. You give it a bump real fast, and you still have some forward momentum. Suppose you're going around 3 knots, and this is definitely not to scale, but I'm going to then pull my port side engine aft, and I'm going to use that momentum to slowly give me some twist. Now from here I'll typically judge by eye on how much closer I need to get to the pier, but sometimes I will actually give the boat a bump forward with both engines, and I typically only do this if I left my port side engine, my reverse, astern engine, in long enough to cancel all of my forward momentum, because I want forward momentum. So suppose that happened, I canceled all of my forward momentum, and I'm effectively sitting still now right here. Most people would tend to start their twist, and if they started their twist like this, one in forward, one in reverse, they're going to end up somewhere around here, and they're going to be too far away from the pier. But we're not there yet. We're trying to avoid that. So I've effectively canceled all of my forward momentum. I either want to give a bump of forward with the starboard, which can work as long as all of that momentum is completely canceled. But it is best, in my opinion, to give a slight bump of forward between the two engines. Remember, your rudder's straight. So we're going to give a slight bump of forward momentum, probably get up to around 1.5 knots. Now, you don't necessarily have to watch your speed doing this. I'm just giving estimates here. And as your bow approaches the pier, before it touches, and with enough time to cancel your momentum, you're then going to throw in your port side astern once more. Once your port side goes astern, you do not want to start backing up. You just want to cancel that forward momentum, and the stern will come around. Now, once you feel like that momentum has started coming against the wind, you can sometimes, suppose you end up about right here, once your forward momentum cancels, you can then give it a slight bump forward with your astern. You're going to start doing something along the lines of that. And then from here, I remove my forward propulsion. Sometimes I will give it just a little bit of throttle astern if the vessel has started moving forward. But if not, I'm going to also remove the astern propulsion, and typically you will just coast to the dock. The biggest tip I can really give is becoming familiar with actually how close your bow is to an object. It may be extremely difficult to see. Boats, twin screw boats, a lot of times they're known for having poor visibility up forward. You're probably thinking a boat over 30 foot right now, and it does take some time to get used to. But practice makes perfect, and hopefully this video can help you guys out. Well, like I said, this is the most difficult way to come along the pier, is when the wind is blowing you off. But also remember, if you did end up too far away, you can always continue that twist just a little bit there and catch your one stern line, and you can spring in by pulling forward. If you have any questions, check this out. I also have a video on how to walk a boat sideways without a bow thruster if you have non-outboard turning wheels. But if you like this video, if this helps, if you have any questions, comment below, subscribe. I hope this was of help to you. But thanks, guys.